All praises to the Most High Yahweh. Welcome to another Get Some Understanding Sunday. Trying to get the intro ready. I apologize, I should have had it ready off the rip. All praises to the Most High Yahweh in the name of His only and holy begotten Son, Yeshua HaMashiach, long to the King. Alright, let me get it in with a prayer. Holy Yahweh, who art in Shemayim, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on earth as it is in Shemayim. Holy Yahweh, please give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Please lead us to no temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, Father, the power and the glory, forever and forever. Holy Yahweh, thank you for another gathering for us to get together and discuss and chop up this holy word. Thank you for your holy word. Thank you for your word in the flesh and your word in written form, both pure, undefiled, righteous, and holy to the utmost. We respect and regard them with 100% of our heart, mind, and being, and seek to follow your laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of our abilities. Holy Yahweh, we pray that you forgive us for our sins, forgive us for the sins of our ancestors, forgive our ancestors for their sins. Holy Yahweh, please let your holy Ruach come down on those of us who are sick and shut in, that we may be healed and set free. Holy Yahweh, those of us who are righteously seeking you, that take a step, please continue to take 2 steps towards us. That way we get as close to your kingdom as we can in these last minutes of the last hour of the last day. All praises, glory, and honor to your holy name. All prayers, supplications, and thanksgivings are made in the name of your holy and only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, Yahweh Shai. Amen, amen, and amen. King and High Priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Hallelujah. Alright, let's get the intro music popping. Once again, Todah Rabbah to Tobias.
Sacrifice and judge, remission from sins through the shedding of his blood, dealing with other nations once an unlawful thing. Now we told to call no mankind unclean. Older Mikhail's are dead. We got one high priest. John must decrease, Christ must increase, so urn can be released, the order can be deceased, so all sin can cease, so all can be at peace. Traumatized by the things we go through, criticized for the things we don't do. Realize we not black, we Hebrew, crucified the old man to become the new Cain. Killed Abel, spilled his blood on the ground. We see thou should not kill before the commandments came down. Evidence of killing, evidence of sinning, evidence of Melchizedek from the beginning. Sacrifices under Aaron, yeah, time was spent, but Melchizedek was back once the veil was rent. The priesthood be a change. We see what we saw, that was made by necessity, a change of the law. Not dealing with other nation judgment, animal sacrifice. Aaron had to go, cause it didn't suffice. Some people still practice Aaron, but they need to respect that we now under the order of Melchizedek. Order of Melchizedek. Christ is sacrifice and judge, remission from sins through the shedding of his blood, dealing with other nations once an unlawful thing. Now we told to call no mankind unclean. Order of Melchizedek. We got one high priest. John must decrease, Christ must increase, so urn can be released, the order can be deceased, so all sin can cease, so all can be at peace. The law having a shadow of good things to come, but those sacrifices took away sin from none. See, the sacrifices didn't stop the nonsense, cause the sin was embedded in their conscience. Lusting after women, you're taking your part and committing adultery already in heart. Some can't understand, or just plain old blind, that the order of Melchizedek checks your mind. No more me and high priest, you can't find none better. That only begotten Son after Melchizedek forever. Righteous, just, king of right. Definition of Melchizedek, Christ the light. Aaron is gone, Aaron is done. No longer the schoolmaster, cause faith is come. Hebrews 10 and 9 sums up the verse. He established the second and took away the first. Order of Melchizedek. Christ is sacrifice and judge, remission from sins through the shedding of his blood, dealing with other nations once an unlawful thing. Now we told to call no mankind release the order can be deceased, so all sin can cease, so all can be at peace.
Facts. All praises to the Most High Yahweh. Once again, thank you, Tobias, for that track. Order Melchizedek. I actually had contacted this Hebrew and said I wanted to borrow or use that track as the intro for this, and I offered to pay him for the track. The Hebrew refused to take payment. He said I could use it for free. So all praise to the Most High. Thank you for that free will offering, Hebrew. Alright. So let's get right into today's lesson, because today's lesson I got some correction to do from last week's lesson. I embarrassed myself last week in that I misquoted two of the verses that I really wanted to spotlight or highlight. And in fact, the only two verses that I wrote incorrectly were those two verses that I wanted to read, which is Genesis 15:15 and Jeremiah, which turns out to be Jeremiah 33:22. I said last week was Jeremiah 32:22, and I couldn't even find it in the 32nd chapter. I was rereading it over and over. I'm like, yo, I can't find this verse in there, because the verse was in Jeremiah 33:22. So I'm gonna correct all of that today. Because you know how I do. I got some more on it. You feel me? I can't be discouraged by my own mistakes, and if I do make a mistake or I can't bring forth something in the manner that it should be brought forth, I'm gonna try to do better the next week. And this is the next week, so I'm gonna try to do better. All right? I got some more ammunition, and hopefully I could tie in and communicate what I'm trying to communicate as expressed concerning the star seed information, concerning you comparing yourself to a star in the sky, as though that is something that we can do. Excuse me. That's only something that we can do in number. We can't do it. We can't compare ourselves to stars in composition or in anatomical makeup or in chemical makeup or in whatever we're made of is not star material, right? And if you do teach that you are made up of star material, then you're gonna have to teach everything that the Most High compares us to in number and not in number, and it's much more than stars, right? The Most High don't just compare us to stars, but He only compares us to stars in number. But we'll get to that when we get to it. We normally start Get Some Understanding Sunday with the Aleph Bet, or the real Aleph Bet. We compare the lexicon to Psalm 119, and we do a side-by-side comparison. We juxtapose the definitions. We do a side-by-side comparison and say, man, do these things relate to each other? We found last week that Dalit actually does relate. Dalit from the lexicon and Dalit from Psalm 119 relates to each other. So discussing the way and the path and the door. In Psalm 119, Dalit discussing you being down in spirit and the way that you get up out of that particular feeling, right? Honestly, Dalit is a little ambiguous in definition, meaning that it can be used for various letters. So you could actually use the definition of Dalit from the lexicon, being the door, the way, or the path, for Bet, for instance. Bet is how does a young man cleanse his way, right? The way that you cleanse yourself is with the word, and that's also a form of a way or a door or a path. You can also compare Dalit lexicon definition to A, or Aleph, which is one being undefiled in the way, the path, and the door for undefilement, right, is Aleph. The way you cleanse yourself is Bet. So all of these could be related to the lexicon's definition of Dalit. So dalet is a little ambiguous in definition in that manner. But like I said, I'm not going to sit up here and say dalet from the lexicon and dalet from 119 do not relate to each other, because they do. What I'm saying is aleph, bet, and gimel, we read all three of those. They do not. Matter of fact, gimel is the exact opposite. Gimel is the exact antithesis of the definitions from one to another. All right. So today's letter, though, is excuse me. Get it up. Once again, my preparation. I apologize. Today's letter is hey, and where is this thing? There we go. Today's letter is hey, and hey from the lexicon, because that's where I usually like to start. Hey from the lexicon means, oops, sorry y'all. Alright, hey from the lexicon means behold, to show, and to reveal. It also represents the number 5 and the letter H, or the sound h, right? The sound that an H would make. Once again, the definition: behold, to show, to reveal. So hey and dalet don't really have. Well, dalet is a door, right? Would be the symbol, would be a door, but hey really doesn't have a symbol to it, so to speak. It just means to behold, or to show, or to reveal. Once again, it has the number 5 and the letter or the sound of h attached to it. And let's get to Psalm 119, because hey in Psalm 119 also matches hey from the lexicon. So like last week, we got another letter that I cannot deny. It's undeniably connected, right? I can't sit up here and say, nah, Psalm 119 from verses, let me see, Psalm 119 from verses 33 to 40 have nothing to do with the lexicon hey, because Psalm 119 is discussing the showing or the revealing that you would like the Most High to do. You want the Most High to, well, let's read it. Let's read it. Psalm 119, verses 33 to 40. It reads on this wise: teach me, O Yahweh, the way of thy statutes, and I shall keep it unto the end. Once again, hey from the lexicon means behold, or to show, or to reveal. And right here you're asking for the Most High to teach you. You want to behold the way of the Most High Yahweh. And that is involved, once again, in His Word, in His laws, statutes, and commandments. And the way of thy statutes. And I'm going to keep them till the end. What? The laws, statutes, and commandments. All of the Psalm 119 deals with the holy and righteous Word of the Most High. Anyway, verse 34. Give me understanding, and I shall keep thy law. Yea, I shall observe it with my whole heart. Make me to go in the path of thy commandments, for therein do I delight. Incline my heart unto thy testimonies, and not to covetousness. Turn away mine eyes from beholding vanity, and quicken thou me in thy way. Verse 38. Establish thy word unto thy servant. Once again, verse 38. Establish thy word unto thy servant, who is devoted to thy fear. Verse 39. Turn away my reproach, which I fear, for thy judgments are good. Verse 40. Behold, I have longed for thy precepts. Quicken me in thy righteousness. All praise to the Most High Yahweh. So once again, I can associate the verses that I just read with the meaning from hey in the lexicon, meaning behold, or to show, or to reveal, because Psalm 119 verses 33 to 40 are dealing with you asking the Most High to present His testimonies to you, to incline your heart to His testimonies, to teach you his testimonies, to give you understanding, to make you go in the path of his commandments. Once again, behold, to be shown, or to show, I guess, for the Most High to show you something, and to reveal, for the Most High to reveal his laws, statutes, and commandments to you, so that you can keep his laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of your abilities, so that you can make it to the kingdom that is promised to those who do their best to keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. All praises to the Most High Yahweh. So once again, I do see a connection for Hay and Psalm 119. So that's 2 out of 5 so far. I mean, that's a very low batting average. And once again, we deal with 100%. Everything got to match. Everything has to match. Right? I can't get to the 4th and 5th letter before I start seeing connections. Like Aleph had to be, I still can't see an ox being undefiled in the way. It's all good. We're gonna let's continue with the class, because I don't want to monopolize anybody's time. So that's it for the letter of the day. The letter of the day was Hay, right? Once again, the letter of the day, Hay, or H-E or H-E-H. All right, all praise to the Most High Yahweh. All right, let's get to the actual lesson for today. All right, so what I wanted to do once again was to correct my mistake from last week. And what I actually want to do is read through all the verses that I didn't read through last week concerning us being starseeds. I actually want to read through all of the verses that I prepared, so that they're read, so that I'm not just stating what the verses are and telling you, oh man, these things are in these verses. I want to read the verses to you, so you can see exactly what the verse says concerning you being a multitude, a nation in a nation in number and multitude like the stars. Right? Let's go. So all of the scripts concerning you being a nation in multitude like the stars are 12 in existence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in existence. 11, 12. Yeah, 12 in existence. Yep. The first one is Genesis 15 and 15. And this is 15 and 15. I did it again. 15 and 5. I apologize. Genesis chapter 15 and verse 5. And once again, this is a favorite of the star. This is the Starseed's favorite script, because it tells Abraham to look at the stars, because your seed are going to be like the stars. And 15 and 5. Genesis 15 and 5. You're a star seed. Okay, let's see what Genesis 15 and 5 says about you being from the stars. Genesis chapter 15 and verse 5. And he brought him forth abroad and said, look now toward heaven, and tell the stars if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall thy seed be. So once again, Abraham was told to look to the stars and number them. Look to them look at them to see how many of them exist, if you can even do that. Now we're going to go to Genesis 22 and 17. And in Genesis 22 and 17, it actually attaches you to stars and sand. So once again, if you're going to teach me that I come from the stars, how come you're not teaching me that I come from sand? Genesis 22 and 17 reads on this wise. That in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven, and as sand which is upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of thy enemies, the gate of his enemies, excuse me. So once again, this verse says that you shall in multiplying be in multiples like the stars of heaven, and as the sand of the sea. So once again, I have to be beach dirt as well as stardust. Yes? Let's continue. Let's get another Genesis. Yeah, Genesis 26. Genesis 26 and 4. I want to run through these as quick as I can. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and I will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Once again, verse 4 from the top, I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven. Not to be in composition, chemical makeup, or anatomical makeup as the stars, but in number, in multitude. Let's keep reading. Do we have any more Genesis? No more Genesis. Exodus 32 and 13. Get the flipping. 32, Exodus 32 and 13. Where we at? Oh, no. Yeah, Exodus 32 and 13. Remember, Exodus 32 and 13. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, thy servants, to whom thou swearest by thine own self, and saidst unto them, I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of will I give unto your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. Once again, another verse saying that they will multiply you as the stars of heaven. And what I'm reading are all the verses in the Bible that discuss you and the stars. You being from the stars, associated with the stars, in any manner whatsoever. The next script I'm going to read is in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 10. In Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 10, it reads on this wise. And Yahweh your Elohim hath multiplied you, and behold, ye are this day as the stars of heaven for multitude. So, according to Deuteronomy, we've accomplished whatever was told to Abraham concerning him being in multitude as the stars was accomplished right here in Deuteronomy. It says that he hath done it. Look, the Most High has done this for you, Moses. Look how many of you there are out here. Y'all might as well be like the stars for multitude out here right now. Moses, what was told to Abraham was fulfilled right here. We ain't from the stars no more, are we? Are we still coming from space? I don't know. Let's keep going. Deuteronomy 10. Deuteronomy 10 and 22. Keep running through them right quick. All of these scripts that y'all like to use concerning associating yourself with the stars, which all concern you associating yourself with stars in multitude and not in composition, in no other way but in number. Once again, Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 22. Thy fathers went down into Egypt with 70 persons, and now Yahweh thy Elohim hath made thee as the stars of heaven for multitude. Once again, as the stars of heaven for what? Multitude. Deuteronomy 28 and 62. Deuteronomy 28 and 62. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude. So we ain't even like the stars no more in Deuteronomy 28 and 62. That's what we used to be. Y'all ain't gonna be like that no more. So in these days, right now, you still can't call yourself a star seed, even according to the Bible, if you wanted to call yourself a star seed. It say right here, when you few in number, you ain't gonna be like the stars no more. Am I yelling? My fault. Once again, Deuteronomy 28 and 62. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas you were as the stars of heaven from you ain't like the stars no more for multitude, because now you're the minority. And let's continue that verse. Because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Most High Yah. This is why we are the minority and no longer a star seed, even if you wanted to call yourself one. What we at next, yo? First Chronicles. First Chronicles. First Chronicles. Page is flipping like a flip. First Chronicles 27 and 23. Alright, First Chronicles 27 and 23 reads on this wise. But David took not the number of them from 20 years old and under, because the Most High Yahweh had said he would increase Israel like to the stars of heaven. So in the days of King David was like, I'm finna number all of Israel. Right? He had a thought in his mind, which was a sin, which we were punished for severely for David's transgression, meaning that he could not be the anointed one that the scripture is talking about, the Holy Script is talking about. Not this David with blemishes. But anyway, this is one of the blemishes of David when he tried to number all Israel. But he didn't number those under 20. So he was like, man, he still considered the words of the Most High, what he said to Abraham. Man, I'm going to make your seed increase your Israel like the stars of heaven. But once again, in multitude. I'm going to increase them. I'm going to make them in number as many as the stars. Let's keep reading. Four more actually. Let me try to get to Nehemiah first. Nehemiah. I actually had this one. Nehemiah 9 and 23. Alright, I had this one earmarked as well. Nehemiah 9 and 23. Their children also multipliedst thou as the stars of heaven, and broughtest them into the land concerning which thou hast promised to their fathers, that they should go in to possess it. Once again, this verse dealing with you being multiplied. There is the word multiplied or multiplied or in multiple, in number, in every one of these verses. None of them deal with you just being a star or from the stars. The last, not even the last. The next, Nahum 3 and 16. The prophet Nahum, chapter 3 and verse 16. Thou hast multiplied thy merchants above the stars of heaven. The cankerworm spoileth and fleeth away. This is a prophecy of Nahum. But it's once again dealing with Israel being multiplied. I mean, thy merchants, the people of Israel just being complete consumers, which we are to this day. We consume more than probably any nation in the world, and we don't make anything, but consume everything. Huge consumers. He's multiplied the nation, thy merchants, above the stars of heaven. Anyway, once again, two more verses though. But the last two verses I'm going to deal with also have you being mentioned in stars of heaven and sand of the sea, just like Genesis 22 and 17. So in Genesis 22 and 17, you were the stars of heaven in multitude and the sand of the sea in multitude. You're also the stars of heaven and the sand of the sea in multitude in Jeremiah 33 and 22. Let's go there. Once again, that's Jeremiah 33 and 22, not Jeremiah 32 and 22. Which I embarrassed myself on last week, and I apologize to any Israelite who was misled by a comment that I made concerning something that was in a chapter and a verse that they could not find. It's in chapter 33 and 22. It reads on this wise. As the host of heaven cannot be numbered, once again, as the host of heaven cannot be numbered, neither the sand of the sea measured, so I will multiply the seed of David my servant and the Levites that minister unto me. Once again, in multitude and in number, as the stars of heaven and the sand of the sea. Where are the beach dirt lessons? I got a lot more beach dirt verses. I'm just associating the three that say sand and stars. Then I'm going to run through all the verses that just say sand. But let's finish with excuse me. Let's finish with sand and stars verses. There's one more verse that calls you the sand of the sea and the stars of heaven, and that is Hebrews It's Hebrews 11 and 12. Let's read that right quick. In Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 12, it says this: Therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. 3 verses. Sand and stars. Where are the beach dirt lessons? Alright, let's get to just the sand. Once again, last week, all I did was mention these verses. I was like, man, this verse says this, and this verse says that, and this verse says this, instead of actually reading the verses, right? Which led to a huge gaffe on my part, also in my preparation. And I've corrected that as well. Instead of just preparing for the class and giving the class, now I prepare and check my preparation twice, right? I cut twice I measure twice and cut once, right? It's a carpentry tool. Where you prepare as much as you can prepare, so that when it's time to present, the presentation is flawless, right? I didn't do that, and I have to correct that. I had to correct that. Hopefully, this week is retribution. Anyway, let me continue reading. Let's get to these beach dirt lessons. All right, say you just beach dirt. The first one is Genesis 22:17. I already read that one. It associates you with the sand of the sea and the stars of heaven, just like Jeremiah 33 and 22 and Hebrews 11 and 12. As a matter of fact, the language is pretty. The verbiage is pretty much verbatim. Every word is pretty much the same in each one of those verses. It says you being in multitude as the stars and as the sand innumerable, or without number. It's the same connotation. Alright, so let's go to Genesis 32 and 12. Let's see what Genesis 32 and 12 say. Excuse me. Genesis 32 and 12 reads on this wise: And thou saidst, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. Once again, just one verse that says sand of the sea for multitude. Let's get to, and it also is dealing with Israel. There are 3 other verses that talk about, well, not just 3 other verses, there are many other verses that talk about other nations, and I made I made the quotations of the verses yesterday. I'm not going to make those quotations today because I'm not going to read those verses. I'm just going to read the verses dealing with Israel being called in number, or being compared to sand of the sea, similarly to the way we're being compared to the stars of heaven. And I'm not hearing sand of the sea lessons. Alright, I just read Genesis 32 and 12. Let's go to 2 Samuel. What is 2 Samuel 17? What is 2 Samuel 17 and 11? Excuse me, I got some allergies. There's a lot of pollen in the air, so my nose is a little runny. I apologize if I'm sucking in my runny nose a little bit. So anyway, 2 Samuel 17 and 11. Therefore I counsel that all Israel be generally gathered together unto thee, from Dan even to Beersheba, as the sand that is by the sea, for multitude, and that thou go to battle in thine own person. Once again, a verse that calls Israel literally the sand of the sea. Man, y'all get together, as many of y'all as you can gather, like the sand of the sea for multitude. Let's get another one. 1 Kings 4 and 20. And once again, I just mentioned all these verses last week. 1 Kings 4 and 20. Judah and Israel were many, as the sand which is by the sea in multitude, eating and drinking and making merry. Once again, 1 Kings 4 and 20. Judah and Israel were many, as the sand which is by the sea in multitude, eating and drinking and making merry. Let's continue. What's the next one? Let's jump to Jeremiah or Isaiah. Let's do Isaiah first. We got 2 verses in Isaiah and 2 verses in Jeremiah. I already read one of those verses in Jeremiah. Well, let's get to Isaiah first. Excuse me. And we're going to do Isaiah, let's see, we're going to do Isaiah 10 and 22. It's the first Isaiah we're going to read. Isaiah 10 and 22. And Isaiah 10 and 22 reads on this wise. Isaiah 10 and 22 say, For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. Once again, this verse don't even say in multitude or for multitude, in number, none of that. It just says, y'all the sand of the sea. Let's read that again. Let me read it again. Isaiah 10 and 22. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. Where does it even say for number? Man, though y'all like the sand of the sea, a couple of y'all gonna come back though. I mean, it's intimating number, because it's saying that a small portion of you guys will return, but it doesn't say, though y'all like the sand of the sea in number or in multitude, like every verse that associates us with stars. It says every verse. There is not one verse that just says stars. Every verse says in number, in multitude, multiplying or multiplied. It's letting you know the subject matter of the stars that it's associating you with, the subject matter of its association, of the association. And the subject matter of the association is number, not composition, not makeup. Let's keep reading. Isaiah 48 and 19. Another verse in Isaiah. Once again, calling us sand of the sea. Let's see what it say. Isaiah 48 and 19. Thy seed also had been as the sand, and the offspring of thy bowels like the gravel thereof. His name should not have been cut off, nor destroyed from before me. All praises to the Most High Yahweh. He had no intentions of us being destroyed or our names being put away from before him. But once again, this verse says that we are sand and gravel. And not in number, not in multitude. It just says you're sand and your babies is gravel. Come on, man. Where are the beach dirt lessons, fam? Where's the lessons? Oh man, we're just the sand of the sea, brothers and sisters. Once again, I'm not confused and I'm not associating us with sand. I am saying we are. It's this same subject matter applies here as does the subject matter of our association with the stars, which is that we are in multitude like the stars and also in multitude like the sand of the sea. If I want to compare myself to anything, I'm going to compare myself to a tree or a worm. We're going to get to those verses. It's 3 verses about both of those subjects. It's actually more than 3, but I only picked out 3 for the purposes of having 3 witnesses. The 3 witness rule, at least 2, 3 witnesses prove a matter, right? So I got 3 witnesses on both of those to prove the matter of us actually just being worms or less than worms. Matter of fact, or a tree. Anyway, let's continue with the beach dirt. We got some in Jeremiah, I said, right? Yeah, we just got to Isaiah beach dirt. Let's get to Jeremiah beach dirt. Once again, I mentioned all these verses last week. I'm reading them all today, because that's how I get down, fam. Because Satan wanted this smoke. You know what I mean? Hashatan wanted this smoke today. Right? 15 and 8. Jeremiah 15 and 8. Their widows are increased to me above the sand of the sea. I have brought upon them against the mother of the young men a spoiler at noonday. I have caused him to fall upon it suddenly, and terrors upon the city. Once again, their widows, our widows, the widows of Israel, are increased like the sand of the sea. The other verse, once again in Jeremiah, is 33 and 22. I've already read that one. let's go to the last two that I have, and also Hebrews 11 and 12. I read that one as well. The only two that I haven't read concerning us being the sand of the sea, Hosea 1 and 10, and then Romans 9 and 27. So let's get to Hosea 1 and 10 right quick. Hosea 1 and 10. Hosea 1 and 10 says, "Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass, that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living Elohim." Once again, the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. But it also says, which cannot be numbered or measured. Another verse that compares us to sand. The last one is Romans 9 and 27. Once again, just wanted to read these verses out. Romans 9 and 27. Isaiah also cried concerning Israel. I read that verse in Isaiah. It's Isaiah 10 and 22. This is what Paul is about to quote. Isaiah 10 and 22. Once again, Isaiah is the most quoted prophet in the Bible. Paul loved quoting Isaiah. Isaiah loved quoting Deuteronomy. Read Deuteronomy and then read Isaiah. And you'll be like, oh, whoa. That's where Isaiah got all his talk from. And even Yeshua came quoting Isaiah. When he said, man, I came to preach the acceptable year. That's from Isaiah. Anyway, let's get to reading what I was reading. 27, verse 27, chapter 9 and verse 27 of Romans. Isaiah also crieth concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. All praises to the Most. So once again, all the scripts that I just mentioned last week, read them all out just so we could have the understanding. Correct? Because that's what we're here for. Also, real quick, see if I could get through this real fast. I read last week two scripts. One was Isaiah 41:13 through 14, calling Jacob a worm. It said, "Thou worm, Jacob." Psalm 22 and 6, in which David said that he is a worm or less than a worm. Right? Let's read Job so we could third witness. We can have a third witness on what was read last week. I just want to read one script to put a third witness on something that I read last week. All right, let's get that third witness from Job. And Job's third witness is in Job 25. I'm going to read Job 25, verses 5 and 6. In Job 25, verses 5 and 6 read on this wise, "Behold, even to the moon, and it shineth not. Yea, the stars are not pure in his sight." You want to be a star? Job said, the stars are not pure in his sight. Like, you assume that you thinking that you're some type of celestial being makes you, in some type of purer state than you would be in your human form. I don't know. You're not an alien. Anyway. Verse 5 again. "Behold to the moon, and it shineth not. Yea, the stars are not pure in his sight." Verse 6. "How much less is man that is a worm, and the son of man, which is a worm." Once again, Job 25, verses 5 and 6. Well, just verse 6, but I just wanted to read verse 5 for those starseed believers. Verse 6 of Job chapter 25. "How much less is man that is a worm, and the son of man, which is a worm." Anyway, that don't say in multitude. That don't say that say you a worm. You're an actual worm. Just like Psalm 22 and 6 says, and Isaiah 41:13 and 14. Where are the I'm a worm lessons? Where are the man is a worm lesson? How about trees? I got three scripts that compare us to trees. Let's go back to the book of Isaiah. The book of Isaiah, chapter 61 and verse 3, reads on this wise. Excuse me. Once again, the book of Isaiah, chapter 61 and verse 3. To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, and that they might be called the trees of righteousness. Once again, this is describing Israel, Zion, the beauty of out of the ashes, the oil of joy out of the mourning, the garments of praise out of the spirit of heaviness, that we might be called trees of righteousness. Not stars of righteousness, not sand of righteousness. Trees. We shall be called trees of righteousness. The planting of the Most High Yahweh, that he might be glorified. Let me get another tree verse. Psalms 1 and 3. Right? Here's Psalms 1 and 3. What the very first psalm of the Bible calls you. Psalms 1 and verse 3. And he shall be like a tree. In multitude? In number? No. Planted. Man, once again, Psalms 1 and verse 3. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. All praises to the Most High Yahweh. Let's get the third witness on these trees. The third witness that I brought forth. Once again, these are not even all the verses that call you a tree or call you a worm. Mark chapter 8 and verse 24. Mark 8 and 24 read on this wise. And he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. Once again, he looked up and said, I see men as trees. I see men as stars walking, big balls of gas in the cosmos floating around. That's what I see men as. Nah, son. Nah. I'm done with all of that. Let's get back to the let's get back to the chronology. I spent a lot of time on that. That's my fault. Matter of fact, it is what it is. All praise to the Most High Yahweh. This is for understanding to go forth and for me to take my time. Right? I'm not in a rush here. So if this is one whole lesson by itself, another one, cool. This is what the star seeds need. All of these various points of perspective. Right? The first one from Genesis, the fourth day, concerning when the stars actually came to creation and when the earth, how long the earth been here. And you thinking that you're some type of more ancient being because you come from the stars. The earth is actually a more ancient place than the heavens that we see right now. Anyway, I'm done with all of that. Let's get back to the chronology, yo. In the chronology, last week we read Genesis chapter 1, all of verses 21 through 31. We read all of chapter 2. We read Jubilees chapter 2, verses 13 to 33. Especially dealing with the Shabbat in Jubilees. Please pay attention to Jubilees, where we read last week, chapter 2, verse 29 specifically, which dictates what the law of the Sabbath is. And the law of the Sabbath is for you not to do unseemly work. Matter of fact, let's read it. Right? That's what we about around here. We about reading it. You know what I mean? I ain't gotta talk about it. I want to tell you what it say. It's easy to, you know, it's easy to talk about it. Let's read it. All right. Jubilees chapter 2 and verse 29 once again dictates what the law of the Sabbath is. And this is what the law of the Sabbath is. Declare and say to the children of Israel, the law of this day both that they should keep Sabbath thereon, and that they should not forsake it in the error of their hearts, that it is not lawful to do any work thereon which is unseemly. So once again, all verses before this say we shouldn't do any work on the Sabbath. But once again, it don't say that the law is being specified here in 29. In verse 29, Jubilees chapter 2 and verse 29, the law of the Sabbath is being specified. The any work that you're not supposed to do is any unseemly work. So anywhere that you see any work discussed concerning the Sabbath, you have to put unseemly there. You have to put unseemly there, because that's the law. The law is unseemly work or wickedness, unrighteousness. It's good to do good on the Sabbath. It's bad to do bad. Right? Anyway, let me keep reading verse 29. Verse 29 from the top, as a matter of fact. Declare and say to the children of Israel the law of this day, both that they should keep Sabbath thereon, and that they should not forsake it in the error of their heart, that it is not lawful to do any work thereon, which is unseemly, to do thereupon their own pleasure, and that they should not prepare thereon anything to be eaten or drunk, and that it is not lawful to draw water or bring in or take out thereon through their gates any burden, which they had not prepared for themselves on the 6th day in their dwelling. Once again, all preparations have to be done prior. You can do work, right? You can cook. You just have to prepare before. The law right here says it's unlawful and unseemly for you to prepare anything to be eaten. Not for you to eat it. For you to cut meat, for you to kill a sacrifice, drain its blood, and chop the meat and prepare it to be cooked is illegal on the Sabbath. You have a preparation day for that. And once again, that's actually something that we were doing on the Sabbath day that Moses told us to stay in our tents about. Not just picking up sticks, but also going out to find manna on the 7th day. Moses said, man, stay in your tents. What are y'all doing? Anyway, I want to just hurry up and move on. Let me obviously say I don't want to hurry up and move on. Let's just get to the next subject. Once again, that's the law dealing with the Sabbath. Let's continue our reading in the chronology that I did not get to last week. And it's not a lot of reading. It's only Jubilees 3, 1 through 16. And then Jasher 1, 1 through 8. And we're going to get some more details concerning Adam and Eve's relationship when they first meet each other. We left off on that last week. That's what we finished discussing. That's what we finished our discussion on last week. That's kind of what we're going to finish our discussion on this week as well. Right? On how, on what Adam and Eve's relationship was when Adam met Eve, and so on and so forth. What exactly happened? We read it already last week in Genesis 1. We touched on it. No, excuse me. In Genesis 2. I apologize. We touched on it real quick in Genesis 2, and let's see if I get that verse real quick that we touched on Genesis 2 and 23. Yeah, from Genesis 2 and 23 down. Excuse me. Shalom. Woo. Shalom. Alright, I apologize. Alright, all praise to the Most High. Continue. Like I said, in Genesis 1, in Genesis 2, verses 23 through 25 or through 26, we read Adam and Eve's relationship when Adam met Eve and knew her. So now let's get some more details about this particular interaction from Jubilees chapter 3. Alright? We read all the we read all the Jubilees 2 last week. Now we're going to read Jubilees chapter 3. We're only going to read 16 verses though. So all praise to the Most High. Jubilees chapter 3 and verse 1. And on the 6th day of the second week, we brought, according to the word of the Most High Yahweh, unto Adam all the beasts and all the cattle and all the birds and everything that moves on the earth and everything that moves in the water, according to their kinds and according to their types. These beasts on the first day, the beasts, on the first day, the cattle on the second day, the birds on the third day, and all that which moves on the earth on the fourth day, and that which moves in the water on the fifth day. And on the sixth day of the second week, we brought a quart. Oh, excuse me. I just read that. I apologize. Verse 2. And Adam named them all by their respective names, and he called them, and as he called them, so were their names. Alright, so Jubilees chapter 3 is giving us details. The Genesis last week said the Most High made a man and woman, and said, go forth and be blessed and replenish the earth, be fruitful and multiply. And then he said, don't eat from this tree. And then he said, name these animals. The book of Jubilees is giving us the details where we're actually realizing, before Adam met Eve, he had the job of naming the animals. Because once again, he was observing the animals' behavior in order to understand how to copulate and mate. Because he saw copulation and mating happening with other species and wondered how he was supposed to do it himself. Anyway, let's read about it. So once again, Adam's job before Eve was even on the scene. Adam is created, given the commandments, don't eat from a particular tree. He definitely knows this already while he's doing his job, and he also has the commandment, be fruitful and multiply. Okay, verse 3. And on these 5 days Adam saw all these, male and female, according to every kind that was on the earth. But he was alone and found no helpmeet for him. So again, Jubilee's giving us the details that we need. Adam and Eve saw male and female animals mating with each other and being blessed and fruitful and multiplying. He did not have anyone to multiply with. And Yahweh said, it is not good that man should be alone. Let us make an helpmeet for him. Aklem, you definitely brought this up last week as well. This is exactly what the Most High said. And now we're getting the reason why the Most High said it. Man, it's not good that Adam should be alone. Let's continue. Verse 5. And Yahweh, our Elohim, caused a deep sleep to fall upon him, and he slept, and he took for the woman one rib from amongst his ribs, and this rib was the origin of the woman from amongst his ribs, and he built up the flesh in its stead and built the woman. Verse 6. And he awakened Adam out of his sleep, and on awakening he rose on the 6th day, and he brought her to him. And he knew her, and said unto her, this is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called my wife, because she was taken from her husband. So once again, he awakened out of his sleep, and on awakening he arose the 6th day, and he brought her to him. So Adam is now presented Eve as his wife, right? Adam saw her, and he knew her. This is what Jubilees 3 and 6 says. He brought her to him, and he knew her. We all know what knowing is according to the script, right? It's not for unlawful carnal knowledge. We're talking about married people knowing. When two people who love each other get together and the babies be like, ew, mom and dad. That type of knowing. Anyway. So Adam knew her. And then after Adam knew her, said what he said. Man, this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Not only did he say this is bone of my bone. Matter of fact, let me spotlight bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh real quick. Before this, meeting with Eve and knowing of Eve, Adam has only met animals and angels. Adam is not in the same bone structure or skin type as any being he has ever met on the planet before Eve. Adam knows scales, feathers, fins, fur. He know all them F words. He don't know flesh, right? He don't know flesh like his own flesh, right? Once again, he knows scales because he's naming fish. He knows fur. He knows fins. He's naming all the animals, cattle and beasts, and he knows all. He knows feathers because he's naming birds. But he doesn't know any animal that has his own flesh, because there is no other animal that has the flesh of a human being. Adam is acknowledging to Eve that they have the same flesh type. Even if he's saying that they the same skin color or skin tone, he's saying that we have skin. So this is dispelling any showing of Adam and Eve being just like muscles, like a skeleton with muscles with no flesh covering them, because you believe that when the Most High created coats of flesh for them, that he meant actual skin instead of coats of flesh, meaning garments of the flesh of an animal, because they weren't wearing the garments of the flesh of an animal before this. They were wearing light. Then they made fern aprons for themselves. Then the Most High made them coats of flesh, right? Skin, garments of skin, but not actual flesh skin, but flesh from animals so they can cover themselves with. We're going to read about that as well. I just wanted to clarify that real quick. For Adam to say something like, "You're bone of my bone," meaning we're the same bone structure. I've never encountered any animal that walks on two legs like I do. Like the monkey will get up a little bit, but he crawl on his hands and knuckles and stuff. Man, I don't do that. Once again, we're the same bone structure and we're the same skin. We have the same flesh, not muscle tone, because Adam and Eve aren't the same muscle tone. Eve has a different muscle tone than Adam does, but they definitely have the same skin and the same bone structure. Continuing. Verse 7. Therefore, and once again, and this is what Adam said right after he had a romantic encounter with his wife. After he had a romantic encounter with his wife, he said, "We are exactly the same." And he says this right here: "Therefore shall man and wife be one, and therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh." All praises to the Most High Yahweh. That was Eve had the stuff that every wife knows that their husband enjoys, right? And as a matter of fact, this particular relationship is understood by everybody outside of the relationship. Like a mother and father understand why their son is leaving with this woman. And vice versa, a mother and father understand why their daughter is leaving with this man. Right? In the case of a son, the mother might be like, "She's not good enough for you." And the same thing with a pop. "Baby, that nigga ain't good enough for you." But we understand as parents, listen, even outside of the father, son, and parent, even your friends understand that relationship, right? Your friends understand why you leaving, not hanging out with them so much no more. Bro, what's going on? Hey, man, you know I'm hanging out with old girl. "Oh, word? You good, bro. Go ahead and do your thing." Any good friend, that's what they gonna say. Unless you have like a catty frenemy who's gonna joke you out for being whipped by whatever the opposite sex has between they stuff. You 4-letter word whip, or you 5-letter word whipped in whatever case. But listen, the relationship is understood though, right? I'm disassociating myself from whoever else I hang out with for this person, because we're now one flesh. right? You diss everything, not just your mother. Listen, the thing is, Adam don't got no homies that he's gonna to diss for Eve. He would though. He would. Trust me. Eve don't got no homegirls to diss for Adam. She would as well though. Anyway, that's enough on that for now. Let's keep reading. Verse 8. In the first week was Adam created, and the rib his wife. In the second week he showed her unto him. For this reason the commandment was given to keep their defilement, for a male 7 days, and for a female twice 7 days. Verse 9. And after Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, we brought him into the Garden of Eden to till and keep it. But his wife they brought in on the 80th day, and after this she entered into the Garden of Eden. Verse 10. And for this reason the commandment is written on the heavenly tablets in regard to her that gives birth. If she bears a male, she shall remain in her uncleanness 7 days according to the first week of days, and 30 days and 33 shall she remain in the blood of her purifying. She shall not touch any hallowed thing, nor enter into the sanctuary until she accomplishes these days which are enjoined in the case of a male child. So now we get the law of purification for birth. Excuse me. However, this is the birth of Adam and Eve, and the purification of the earth after this particular birth. Eve hasn't given birth to Cain and Abel yet. This is not Eve's purification from any of her children. This is what's being purified here from birth. Who's being birthed for what purification being talked about in Jubilees chapter 10? Excuse me, in Jubilees chapter 3 and verse 10. I apologize. In Jubilees chapter 3 and verse 10, who's giving birth to be purified? Who gave birth to Adam and Eve? Anyway, these laws, the laws, statutes, and commandments that we think were created on Mount Sinai, were given to Adam on Mount Sinai, were created there, were not. These things are old. They're from the beginning. Many of them start right here with Adam and Eve, who are our very first forefathers, and enacted any and everything we are going through right now. Anyway. Verse 11. But in the case of a female child, she shall remain in her uncleanness 2 weeks of days, according to the first 2 weeks, and 66 days in the blood of her purification, and they will be in all 80 days. Verse 12. And when she has completed these 80 days, we brought her into the Garden of Eden, for it is holier than all the earth besides, and every tree that is planted in it is holy. Therefore there was ordained regarding her who bears a male or female child the statute of those days, that she should touch no hallowed thing, nor enter into the sanctuary until these days for the male or female child are accomplished. Verse 14, this is the law and the testimony which was written down for Israel, in order that they should observe it all the days. Praises to the Most High Yahweh. Verse 15, for in the first week of the first Jubilee, Adam and his wife were in the Garden of Eden for 7 years, tilling and keeping it. And we gave him work. And we instructed him to do everything that is suitable for tillage. Adam had a job in the garden. After he named all the animals, get to gardening. Pick some fruit, keep the animals off of it, share some with your wife. Once again, don't eat from that tree. Adam's job after naming all these animals was to keep the garden. All praises to the Most High Yahweh. Verse 16. And he tilled the garden, and was naked and knew it not. Once again, naked of the fleshly clothing that the Most High had to create for him once his spiritual light garments were removed for disobedience. Your garments of light are removed for disobedience. Then you realize, oh, I'm naked. But you actually don't have any physical clothes on, even though you're a physical being. Adam didn't have any physical clothes on, being a physical being. He had spiritual clothes on. He was naked to the physical clothes and didn't even care because his light garments was on. Anyway, verse 16 from the top. And he tilled the garden and was naked and knew it not, and was not ashamed. And he protected the garden from the birds and the beasts and the cattle, and gathered its fruit, and ate, and put aside the residue for himself and for his wife, put aside that which was being kept. All praises to the Most High Yahweh. That's the last verse I wanted to read in Jubilees chapter 3, all the way just up to 16. Concerning the details, Adam saw and knew his wife, and right after that said, oh man. And as a matter of fact, Adam's words came right back to bite him, because that's exactly who Satan went after. Satan wasn't going after Adam no more. He went after that thing that would make him leave his mother and father and cleave unto it. He said, you ain't even worried about. So if I get her, then I got you. Cool. And Satan went right to work on Eve. I want to read Jasher, 8 verses in Jasher. Just 8 verses in the book of Jasher. Once again, some more details. Details, baby. That's what we about around here. Getting some understanding from these details. Jasher, chapter 1, verses 1 through 8. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And Elohim created man in his own image. Verse 2, and he formed man from the ground, and he blew into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul, endowed with speech. We get more details. Adam had speech off the rip. As soon as the Most High blew breath, Adam had intelligence and speech. Well, he had to have intelligence to be able to speak. You have a brain in your head, and it's not for decoration. Like the Imam Batel said the other day on our personal call. Imam was like, man, your brain ain't for decoration. All praises to the Most High Yahweh. It's not. Well, when she said her brain, because she was having an issue with somebody, and she was like, man, I'm communicating clearly to you. She said, man, I'm not stupid. My brain is not for decoration. This brain is a muscle, and I use it. All praises to the Most High Yahweh. That brain was given to you, Imam, by our Elohim in his everlasting thoughts of us. Everything that he thought of, that we would never even think he was thinking of. He thought of for us, including that free thinking, beautiful conscious mind that is not for decoration. All praises. Thank you, Imam. Let me keep reading though. Verse 3. And Yahweh said, it is not good for a man to be alone. I will make unto him and help me. Verse 4. And Yahweh caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took away one of his ribs, and he built flesh upon it, and formed it, and brought it to Adam. And Adam awoke from his sleep, and behold, a woman was standing before him. So once again, we're getting the very same chronology or order of events, but with more details, right? And once again, we are in the same storyline. We are in the same subject matter. Adam is alone. The Most High say, yo, it's not good for Adam to be alone. I'm going to create him a help me. Adam goes to sleep. The Most High do what he do. Adam wakes up, is presented with his wife. And now what's about to happen? Of course we know what's about to happen. The knowing is about to happen. And then Adam is about to say, Yahweh, I'm finna forget about you. Yo, he finna say, yo, Most High, I'm finning to, listen, I don't know, son. Look, verse 5. Let's just read about it. Verse 5. And he said, this is bone of my bones, and shall be called woman, for this has been taken from man. And Adam called her name Eve, for she was the mother of all living. Once again, Adam called Eve Eve, not God called Eve Eve. As a matter of fact, God called Eve Adam, right? When God was calling Adam, he was calling Adam and Eve. He called both of them because they're one flesh. They're one thing to God. So if God said, yo, Adam, come here, he's calling Adam and his wife. Anyway. Verse 6, and God blessed them and called their names Adam and Eve in the day that he created them. And Yahweh Elohim said, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. And Yahweh took Adam and his wife and placed them in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And he commanded them and said unto them, From every tree of the garden you may eat, but from the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat thereof you shall surely die. These words are going to come back to by Eve, because she don't believe this, that surely means what surely means. I think the devil brought out some word etymology on Eve, and she like, nah, see, you don't understand what surely means. See, in the Hebrew, surely means definite, guaranteed right now. Anyway, we gonna get to that next week, right? We gonna talk about that next week. We about to finish up what we finishing up this week. Verse 8. And when Elohim had blessed and commanded them, he went from them, and Adam and his wife dwelt in the garden according to the command which the Most High Yahweh had commanded them. So once again, we know what Adam's commandment was. You'll keep and till this garden, feed your wife, and put some aside, and do your thing, bro. This is your spot now. All praise to the Most. Once again, that's all the reading I wanted to do for today. That's everything I wanted to touch on. All praises to the Most High Yahweh. Let me let Big Lim back up in. Oh, praises to the Most High. Glenn, you good?
Yes, shalom. Good breakdown on that subject matter, man. Adam and Eve and the verse. And I wanna jump on the back of you, piggyback like they said.
Yes, sir.
With those days of unpurification for a woman, see, it was 80 days. Eve couldn't go inside the garden because she also came out of a womb.
Come on.
You understand? And see that because the Most High gave them the commands, the laws from the beginning.
Correct.
So they had to be established with them, and she being a female taken out of a male, it was a womb. Not like a woman.
Wow.
But it was a womb coming out, so she had to go through a purification before she come into a righteous place.
Right.
You understand? She had to go through the 80 days.
Adam had to go through that purification too. Came straight from the dust of the earth, though. Right? Adam had a 40-day purification. Didn't come from no other being.
Yes. And see, we know that was a real good breakdown on that, because when they expressed he was naked, like you said, when Adam was in the beginning, it was a light surrounding. You couldn't see nothing but all his face, his hands.
Exactly.
He couldn't even see his own nakedness.
Come on, because he wasn't ashamed.
Right, he wasn't ashamed. But once he sinned, like the scripts tell us, all that grace fell from him, and creation turned on Adam. The animals turned on him.
That's correct.
Everything turned on him.
That's correct.
Once he lost his glory, the animals lost their respect for him. And he had to pray and ask the Most High, to keep him off.
That's right. That's true. That's true.
You're gonna get probably more into that, but man, that was an excellent breakdown once again. On these scripts, and you compare what you're supposed to do when you teach. See, that's what these cats from IUIC, instead of them, standing on the corner talking about they captains of 50s and hundreds and thousands and all that. Well, that's not what Yeshua said. He said go out 2 by 2 or at the most 3.
Come on.
That was Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons got it better than doing it.
That's right. And they go to some rough neighborhoods. I ain't never really seen no Hebrews in certain neighborhoods that I seen Jehovah's Witnesses in. Certain Hebrews don't want to go to them Jehovah's Witnesses be right there. You be like, man, what you doing up here? You ain't scared? No, they ain't scared.
No, are those Mormons.
Correct.
They'll set up
right?
camp and live right in the same
Heathens as well, correct. And they heathens, bruh.
And these heathens are like their elders. I had to cuss a few of them out, man. They ain't never came back. That's a good breakdown, man, as usual, man. You know, all praises to the Most High. You know, bringing forth, you know, these lessons, man, dealing with Psalms 119, you know, which is our alphabets, and each alphabet is reminding you to keep and do the commandments.
That's right. That's right.
You know, that's why it's so dynamic, man. 119, because it's truly, if you learn the alphabets, the numbers of the alphabets in the book of Psalm 119, you'll begin to keep the commandments a little more. That strength will grow on you spiritually. You know, if you can just read some of it, you know, throughout the week, you know, and I like how you bring that, man. I know it's the Ruach that's breaking it down, you know, in your life, your spirit life, man. And all praise to the Most High.
Facts on facts. All praises to the Most High. You still there, Hebrew?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
don't get me started, man.
All right, can you please then take us out in very high spirits with a prayer like you normally do? All praises.
Yeah, because we trying to get a little bit of rest, because I know some people ain't gonna be able to hang with us.
I mean, we went hard last week. We went about almost 2 hours, so I'm trying to keep this one, you know what I mean, under 125, you know what I mean, something like that.
Okay. With that said, all praise to the Most High. Holy Yahweh, in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Father, we give you thanks. We give you all the praise, glory, and honor. And we thank you for your Son, your only begotten Son that you gave for us, to Israel first, and to those that believe on him, Holy Yahweh, and keep and do his commandments. Father, forgive us for our sins, for breaking your commandments, your law, statutes, and justice. Have mercy upon our souls. And have mercy upon the souls of our forefathers who broke your commandments, your law, statutes, and justice. Have mercy upon us, Father, as Israel, as one nation, Father. You know, we get ready to go through some things, Father, in this winter. But Father, I pray that our flight not be into winter time, nor on the Sabbath, Holy Yah. Remember those that are on their bed of affliction, sick and shut in. Those that are in jails and prisons, Father, locked up innocent. And those that are feeble-minded, Father, don't know they Israel. Right. Remember them, Holy Yah. Remember all of Israel, and forgive us again, Holy Yah, for what we have done against you. And teach us, Father. Give us your strength, your wisdom, and understanding, and show us how to stay on that straight and narrow path, Holy Yah, to keep and do your commandments for all eternity, and teach others to do as well. With that said, Holy Yah, we thank you for this lesson once again. We're using our brothers Israel, you know, to bring forth another lesson under your Ruach, and teach us your word, which we need to sustain our lives. Father, we thank you in Yeshua holy name. Amen.
Amen, amen, and amen. Yes, sir, as always, man. Powerful one. Zion, thank you for your ears, and thank you for your hearts. If it be the Most High's will, we'll be back next week, Sunday, with another Get Some Understanding Sunday. Alright? One love, family. Shalom, Waklam.
One love. Shalom.
Yes, sir.